fire extinguishers, and sprinklers. The change from UPCS to NSPIRE has presented us with a number of different scenarios where the scoring values of various types of defects have changed radically. In the case of what we called site under UPCS, we had fence defects, trip hazards, erosion, vegetation, retaining wall, and other defects that could each have a scoring value of 5 to 7.5 points. Nearly all of those have been reduced to 0.6 of a point or even 0.2 of a point under NSPIRE, and that of course assumes a 100-unit property with a sample of 25 units. A few of those site defects have even dropped to 1/10 of a point or have even been eliminated entirely. In the case of what we used to call building systems defects, there were single items that could generate a 10-point deduction if cited in a single building property. In combination with high-scoring site and building exterior defects, it was possible for a single building property to fail an inspection based on just 5 or 6 defects before we even entered any of the units. Fire extinguishers and sprinklers were 2 of these high-scoring systems items. Any issue found with an extinguisher or a sprinkler was recorded as a building systems defect no matter where it was found, in a common area, in a unit, on the building exterior. It didn't matter. They all went under building systems. One such fire extinguisher issue could be worth up to 10 points in a single building property. A sprinkler issue was also worth 10 points, so a property like this could lose 20 points on these 2 items alone, fire extinguishers and sprinklers. Point losses were limited by 2 principles. One, that there were scoring caps on individual items, so a single systems deficiency could never exceed 10 points. And 2, systems as an inspectable area had a possible points value of something like 14 to 23 points, typically around 20 to 22 points in a single building property. This served as a loss limit for systems. It was never possible to lose more points than that overall value given to building systems. The respective overall value of these 2 items, extinguishers and sprinklers, when cited across multiple buildings, could be also catastrophic. For example, a property with 10 buildings could lose up to 18 points on sprinklers alone if they were cited in every building, and if every building was cited for a level 3 issue, despite the fact that their combined values might come to 32 or 36 points. The loss limit principle kept these losses to around 16 to 20 points. So you could be cited for sprinklers in every building, it'd be worth 16 to 18 points. You could be cited for fire extinguishers in every building, it would be again worth 16 to 18 points. But if your building systems were only worth 16 points, that would be your total loss limit. NSPIRE flips this scenario completely upside down. Sprinkler and extinguisher defects each are now cited and scored unit by unit as found, rather than being scored once per building systems. They can also be cited on the inside and on the outside if found in an area other than a unit. But for now, let's just focus on these issues in the units. The base value for an extinguisher or sprinkler issue in a unit is 60 points. We then divide that by the number of units being inspected. So, in our example property with 100 units, the sample size is 25. We divide 60 by 25, and that equals 2.4 points. If only one unit is found to have either an extinguisher issue or a sprinkler issue, we will lose 2.4 points. If we are inspecting a single building property, we just went from losing 10 points to only losing about a quarter of that at 2.4 points. If we stopped right there, that might seem like an encouraging scenario, but let's play it out to the very end. Remember, we no longer have any loss limits per inspectable area. Our units are not limited to 35 to 50 points as they were in the past. There is no limit on the scoring losses. If every unit had a sprinkler issue, we'd be losing 60 points. Yes, 60 points. If we had no other issues except for sprinkler issues, we would have a final score of 40. If we had an additional fire extinguisher issue in every unit, we would lose another 60 points. That's 120 points altogether. And this is a 100-point inspection. So our final score would be 0. It can't go into the negatives. Fortunately, the definitions for sprinklers have eased up just a little bit. Under UPCS, we could expect an inspector to cite a sprinkler issue for the tiniest speck of paint on a sprinkler head. Under NSPIRE, the definition says we cite a sprinkler issue if 75% of the sprinkler head is covered with paint or debris or dust, or if there is paint on the sensor bulb. The new sprinkler standard places greater emphasis on blocked sprinkler heads than the old standard did, so we can't expect a deficiency to be cited when anything blocks a sprinkler head within 18 inches. Speaking of which, let's just go ahead and look at these new standards, but we'll go back and start with fire extinguishers. Fire extinguisher, a portable safety device that discharges a jet of water, foam, gas, or other material to extinguish a fire with the chemical reactions occurring in the flame. Common components include the tank, the locking pin, handle or operating lever, pressure gauge, discharge hose and nozzle, mounting bracket, fire extinguisher cabinet, inspection tag. For more information, this standard does not apply to fire extinguishers owned by the resident. Do not evaluate fire extinguishers that are not in service, i.e. they're in a storage area or awaiting service. Deficiency 1. The fire extinguisher pressure gauge reads over or undercharged. Deficiency. The pressure gauge indicates that the fire extinguisher is over or undercharged. Deficiency 2. A fire extinguisher service tag is missing, illegible, or expired. Deficiency. The date of the service tag of any fire extinguisher has exceeded 1 year. The fire extinguisher tag is missing or illegible. A non-rechargeable or disposable fire extinguisher is more than 12 years old based on the manufacture date. So under UPCS, we did not inspect disposable fire extinguishers for dates or tags. Under this new standard, we will look at the manufacture date, and if a non-rechargeable or disposable fire extinguisher is more than 12 years old, it will be considered out of date. More information. If the POA provides the invoice or report from the servicing fire extinguisher company, do not record a deficiency for a missing tag. The date of the report, however, must be no more than 1 year from the inspection date. So if a tag has been torn off and the POA, property owner agent, can prove that the fire extinguishers were serviced within the last year, the missing tag is no longer an issue. Fire extinguisher is damaged or missing. Deficiency. The fire extinguisher is damaged, i.e. it's visibly defective or there's something that impacts functionality. Fire extinguisher is missing. There's evidence of prior installation, but it's now not present or it is incomplete. Sprinkler assembly. Sprinkler assembly. The part of the fire protection system that discharges water when activated once reaching a certain predetermined temperature. For more information, if a leak is present, evaluate that deficiency under the leak water standard. Deficiency 1 for sprinkler assemblies. Sprinkler head assembly is encased or obstructed by an item or object that's within 18 inches of the sprinkler head. Deficiency. Sprinkler head assembly is encased or obstructed by an item or an object that's within 18 inches of the sprinkler head. More information. Some sprinkler heads may not have 18 inches of clearance due to features within the built environment, e.g. the closet, wall-mounted kitchen cabinets, permanently installed light fixtures, exit signs, and that should not be considered a deficiency under this standard. A parked vehicle within 18 inches of the sprinkler assembly should not be considered a deficiency under this standard. Examples of encasements may include, but are not limited to, painter's tape, plastic bags. Examples of obstructions may include, but are not limited to, furniture, shelves, stacked materials. Deficiency 2. Sprinkler assembly component is damaged, inoperable, or missing, and it is detrimental to performance. Deficiency. Sprinkler assembly component is damaged, i.e. it's visibly defective or there's something that impacts the functionality. It's inoperable, i.e. the overall system or component thereof is not meeting its function or purpose with or without visible damage, or it is missing. There's evidence of prior installation, but it's now not present or is incomplete. And this is detrimental to its performance. More information. For the purpose of this standard, a condition is detrimental to performance if it impacts the sprinkler assembly's ability to properly or adequately discharge when activated. Examples of conditions that may be detrimental to performance may include, but are not limited to, physical damage, the glass bulb has lost fluid, concealed sprinkler cover plate is caulked or glued to the ceiling, missing sprinkler head escutcheon. D3. Sprinkler assembly has evidence of corrosion. Deficiency 4. Sprinkler assembly has evidence of foreign material that is detrimental to performance. Deficiency. Foreign material covers 75% or more of the sprinkler assembly. Foreign material covers 75% or more of the glass bulb. For more information, for the purpose of this standard, a condition is detrimental to performance if it impacts the sprinkler assembly's ability to properly or adequately discharge when activated. Examples of foreign material that may be detrimental to performance may include, but are not limited to, loading with dust or debris or paint.